My third article, I got to meet the Rolling Stones. So,
Wait, what?
yeah, I did. No, I mean, because they came to town, and I don't exactly know how I wrangled this, but there was a press event on this boat because they couldn't stay in a hotel. No hotel would have them. And so they rented like a yacht in the boat basin on 79th Street in the Hudson. And so I spent an afternoon on that boat. It was just maybe about 30, 40 reporters and them. And so I got to meet all of them and talk to them and interview them and take a Polaroid picture of Brian, with his get-ups and all that stuff. And I wrote it, and then one of them invited me to ride in their limo. So the limo there's an underground garage there. The limo was underground, and I got in there with them. This was Charlie Watts, I think.
Oh, yeah.
The nice one.
Yeah, the normal one.
Yeah, he. I was, first of all, I have to say, I was in awe of every performer that I met. Every one of them, without exception. And with the Rolling Stones, I barely could get any questions out. I was so shy and in awe around them. And so Charlie Watts came up to me and said, "Don't be nervous, ask your questions." So then he invited me into their limo, and when the limo emerged from the garage, girls closed in on it from all sides and splayed themselves across the windshield, pounded on the windows, and got the door open and dragged Brian out of the door and started to rip at his clothing. And police, intervened, and they yanked him back into the car. And I was thunderstruck by this, because the show of ecstasy, Later, thinking back on this, I think, I wanted to be one of those girls, really, but I couldn't be, of course. There's no way that I could have behaved like that around a rocker, but I really, in a way, identified with them and felt very moved by it. But the guys were like, "Oh no, not again." They were very blasé about it.
They were?
Yeah, because everywhere they went, this was happening.
You didn't like it?
No. Well, who knows what they felt.
Did you get an exclusive that way? Because there was 40 other, you said there's a bunch of...
Yeah, nobody else was in the limo but me. So I wrote about this.
Why do you think you singled you out?
Because Charlie Watts took mercy on me, and I didn't look like a professional. I damn well did not look like a guy from the Bronx with long hair. I knew nothing about how to behave in Manhattan. I didn't dress like I came from Manhattan. I had a halfpenny from England, from my trip to England, around my neck. A halfpenny is a coin with a hole in it. I don't think it doesn't exist anymore. But I had this coin and I wore it on a string around my neck. You can imagine that's not Manhattan, So, but I think for somebody like Charlie Watts, he took pity on me, basically. So, and I think that probably I was so shy that a lot of these performers felt that they could open up around me, which they did.